Hi, I'm Libby Gibson, Town Manager. Welcome to What's Going On in Town Government. Gino, don't get any of my desk. This is not its usual state.
Post-town meeting.
Post-town meeting,
Yeah.
Armageddon here. It's it'll get cleaned up soon. Okay, so
Let's just talk. I want to know your opinion of town meeting. I'm sorry, town meeting. The vote.
oh,
We already did a show
which
on town
vote?
meeting. The last election.
Well, I
How will
don't.
you sum that up?
How will I sum that up? Well, first let me say that all day of the election and the day before, I was hearing none of the ballot questions are going to pass. The taxpayers are revolting and they're not going to approve any of them. So I was actually a little bit surprised that all of them passed except for one.
Yeah.
So, and actually the one that didn't pass, the old South Road corridor improvements, I wasn't totally surprised by that because the discussion at town meeting revealed that there was some confusion. We probably ought to have done a better job of public outreach ahead of time to explain just what exactly we were talking about with the improvements.
Is that what?
Well, maybe, although not for nothing, but there were a lot of public meetings about it. But as I always say, people don't pay attention a lot of times until something is about to directly affect them.
Right.
So, as a quick aside, next year, I think what we're going to try to do is at town meeting have some sort of fact boards that are out in the lobby that have for large capital projects that have a photo, a title, a description, what the tax rate impact is, the cost, how it's going to be funded, that kind of thing.
That'll help,
did
but
actually,
they need to make up their mind before they show up.
They do, and they need to understand about the project, which is why we did the videos. You
Yep.
and I did the videos, and we had a lot of information out there. We
I
did a
thought for
voter's
sure
guide.
that one would pass. That's how I thought.
Well,
we need that. People in the summer, I guarantee you, they're going to look back on that this summer and they're going to say, why didn't we pass that?
That's
going to
probably
be a
true.
problem this year.
Yeah, well, it's
Big one.
Yeah, I don't disagree. So I thought that was interesting. I thought the outcome of some of the elected officials was interesting.
Yes. How would you? What, how does
I don't.
That, what do you mean by interesting?
Well, there was a complete change in the planning board. There was pretty close to a change on select board.
There was.
And I thought that probably shows, I don't really know exactly what that shows.
You know what I think it shows, Libby? I'll say it for you. I think that people are tired of the pace of this island and they want things to slow down for a while. We've been going full bore for years, and I think it showed that.
Yeah,
they want to slow down.
I'm hearing the same.
Not cut it down, not stop building. They want to slow down. They want more community. They want calmness.
Yeah,
less greed.
Yep.
And so
there is a place where else that happens, and that is at town meeting with zoning and other articles. And I just wonder if the people who are complaining about it have voted on any of that. And I get it that they're complicated and they're confusing and it takes time to go to town meeting, but that is the system we have.
Yep.
Okay. Anyway.
All right.
Okay, so at the select board meeting this week, we had some different announcements about road. We have a new chairman. Yes, we do. Chairperson.
Right.
Chair. Jason Bridges is chair. Don Holgate is vice chair. And everybody else is the same.
Where was Matt?
Matt had a family issue he had to address.
Okay.
That's all. Okay, so we got an update from DPW director about some upcoming road projects, including South Beach Street. We're having a reopening, a kind of a grand reopening of South Beach Street on Thursday, April 26th at 3 p.m. if you're interested in that. It's a reopening, but it's also a thank you to the community for being patient, to the residents and businesses in the nearby area for the impact on them and for their patience, and for the contractors, the engineers, the town employees, the staff that helped get this thing back together.
So there'll be a couple of kegs.
Well, not at 3, but maybe later. Anyway, we just want to really thank everybody, thank the community. So that's coming up. Pulpus Road at Sacajah Pond is, I believe, reopened at this point. Yes, it's reopened at this point. The Straight Wharf Sidewalk Improvement Project is about to recommence. Milk Street Bike Path is shortly going to recommence. Surfside Road at Tashima and McLean is going to have some repaving. South Shore Road, that's probably going to happen in the summer. That's a portion of that is getting repaved, and the Boulevard. So we were talking about how those are all going to go. Okay, we also had National Grid in. They've been trying to get here for several months now, and the weather keeps prohibiting them from coming. And they were talking about an island-ready electricity initiative. And there's a PowerPoint about this online if you're interested in looking at it. And it's about a battery storage facility that they are in the process of constructing out at Bunker Road that will help delay the need for the third cable, I believe.
Part of it.
Part of it.
It's actually, isn't it part of a backup system for us?
It's a backup system.
Yeah.
So it's not really to delay the third cable.
Right.
It's a backup system. But they also talked about actions that they're taking now to delay the need for a third cable. And I'm hearing a few months ago, I was hearing the third cable could be delayed up to 20 or 30 years. Now they're saying 15 years.
Right.
So it's something we are definitely carefully watching and monitoring. And our energy coordinator, Lauren Sinatra, has been spending for well over a year, 2-3 years. She's been spending a lot of time on this as it is. And we also talked about something that is going to be happening in our near future, which is an upgrade of some of National Grid's infrastructure. Now, the upgrade we're not done by a long shot of talking with National Grid about this upgrade and when and where and how it's going to happen. But the basic idea is that the upgrade is going to involve the replacement and installation of current and new infrastructure in the roadways between downtown and the Rotary and out to around the Monomoy Road area. And this would, obviously a lot of their infrastructure is under the road. So it's going to mean ripping up the road and replacing or upgrading their infrastructure and then putting the road back. So the town's been talking to them for over a year now about while the roads are open, we should do our own infrastructure upgrades. And that's part of our discussion with them at this point. But this is, regardless of the sequencing here, it's going to be very disruptive. And it wouldn't happen in the summer, it would happen in the fall into the winter.
And we're talking a couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As if we haven't had enough disruption in the roads.
Exactly.
And if you think about it, Gino, in the immediate downtown area, I'm going to say last 8 years or so, we've had a lot of disruption in the downtown between sewer work, roadway work, new buildings, upgraded, rebuilt buildings, yacht club, White Elephant, Harbor House, right in this downtown area. It's not over.
See what I mean? That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, I don't know how do you slow infrastructure improvements down?
Getting back to this issue, this is not a done deal by any stretch, right?
I don't think we think.
Right? Do we still have to decide whether we're going to do this upgrade or not?
No. This has nothing to do with voting. This is a National Grid effort. They don't need any voter approval.
They do not.
No.
And we have to have it done.
Well, they have a plan. Bigger plan, they have a plan.
We have to approve the plan, though.
The board, select board,
Okay.
it needs to approve petitions to do the work, yes.
Okay.
But I don't want to get into this too deeply, but say, for example, the board, you know what, it's too much. We're not there yet.
Exactly.
We don't have the petitions in hand even. So we'll more on this later.
Exactly.
But it's going to be a very disruptive project is my point. We talked a bit about 2018 annual town meeting follow-up. A lot of stuff happens now. Things get sent to the Attorney General's office, the legislators, bylaws start getting talked about and implemented and all that stuff. I gave the board a monthly town management activities report. I restructured it a bit this month to focus more on projects that involve the board. So we had a good discussion about that. We had some liquor license issues. Specifically, 45 Surfside was seeking to expand its premises from just inside to their deck. And that caused a lot of discussion, and that was continued to April 25th. There's concern about the proximity of the school.
Beer and wine.
They want to have beer and wine and serve it on their deck, yeah. Bartlett's Farm came in. They wanted to change their license category from package store wine to package store beer and wine. We talked about that. That was approved. We had some kind of lengthy discussion about banners on Main Street for events. And this was a discussion we had some months ago, and the policy was a bit revised. They ended up approving that. That'll get put online. And the board also talked about its meeting agenda structure. Basically, they want to clear some additional time to talk about deeper policy issues, not, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, hour here, hour there. They want to have some good, decent time to talk about it. So we talked about a bunch of different things that might be able to be done to get at that. And we didn't conclude the discussion. This was something of a brainstorming, so we're going to continue that discussion ongoing probably for a little bit. Next week's meeting, we have some telephone petitions. These telephone petitions are endless. There's some conduit replacements and a pole relocation, I think. Nantucket Electric is seeking to amend its bulk fuel storage license for out at the Bunker Road site. We've got third quarter fiscal 18, that's the current fiscal year, budget reports for some departments. And probably the big thing is going to be a discussion the board will be having about Wisconsin Beach Preservation Fund's proposed expansion of their current project. This is kind of fun. We've had one discussion so far, and I think this discussion we're going to have another short board next week with a different member away. But I think we're going to have some beginning discussion of, okay, so let me back up. About a week ago, the board had an executive session, a non-public meeting about potential litigation issues and real estate matters pertaining to the SBPF proposal. And I think we want to discuss, the board wants to discuss some of what came out of that executive session as issues connected to the proposal, such as there's more to it than this, but where will the sand come from? How will it get there? What is the cost of the current project? What is to maintain it annually? What would be the cost of the proposed project? If the board were to, say, deny the project request, what are the implications of that? If the road were to fail, what are the implications of that? Can the costs of taking the property that would be needed to relocate a road, paying damages, engineering and construction of a new road, and the utilities that go in the road, sewer and water, can all of that cost, whatever that might be bettered to those who, the abutters basically, along the roadway? There are a lot of legal issues to consider with regard to this project. So they're going to get at some of what those are. They're not completely reviewed yet. So that's going to be interesting. Also, I think maybe another issue people might be interested in is we're going to be getting a pond openings update from our natural resources coordinator, and there was a bit of public comment this week about pond openings. There was. Andy was very eloquent, I thought. He was very eloquent, and he had some good points I hadn't really thought too much about before, that, just human issues. So this discussion, though, is about the current pond openings. It is not going to be a big discussion about let's open Myakama Pond once a year annually. It is not going to be that discussion. Concurrently, though, staff is working on developing pond management principles. Natural Resources has drafted some, and we are in the process of reviewing them. We have a pond management coalition that we're going to be reviewing the pond management principles with as well. So Andy and I talked a bit in the hallway about this, and we talked about the possibility of maybe a public forum to invite concerned people on both sides, the openers versus the non-openers, and also for the town to be able to discuss the constraints it has with pond openings. And maybe that will help inform us for these pond management principles. So we haven't scheduled anything yet, but we'll get the word out when we do. So I've also talked to the Natural Resources Coordinator about that, and I think we're going to get at that sort of public forum idea probably in a month or two, because I think the urgency of even opening ponds, I think, is diminished at this point with my comment having been illegally opened. It's gone down quite a bit. Hummock Pond was opened earlier this week, maybe even the end of last week, and that's gone down as well. And Sakatcha was opened a week or two ago, and that is down.
Do you think he had a point about what he said about Sakatcha and Pulpus Road? I mean, if that had been open, could the...
Well, we have a window within which to open Sakatcha Pond, and when the roadway, we would not have been able to open the pond when that happened.
If we had opened it earlier, though.
But we have to do it within a certain window, and the issue with the road happened before the window. So, I mean, maybe if we had illegally opened it, but we have to operate within the constraints of the regulatory requirements. Yes, the town has special legislation to allow it to open ponds without permits, but there are environmental windows within which that can be done, and there are property owners' permissions that have to be obtained, because we don't own all of the land where the openings happen. Those are some of the constraints that I'm talking about that people may not be aware of. So anyway, I mean, this pond situation is certainly an issue, and he touched on some really good points, but there's other points that people need to keep in mind.
He's got a show on my channel right now where we went to the pond, him and I went to it, and...
Which one, my comment?
Yeah. And we went right up to it and looked at it and talked about... He has a point about these basements and people getting building permits.
Well...
And the water table just filling up their basements.
Well, I'm gonna disagree a little bit about the building permit thing. People are legally able to get building permits in a wetland area if they comply with, go to the Conservation Commission and get approval. You know, obviously, that you're building in a wetland area if you've had to go to the Concom. And if you dig your foundation hole and there's water in it, when you dig it, it might mean that you're going to have a wet basement.
I think he also was referring to people that are not that close to the wetland, that are still having flooded basements.
And yes, but we need to look specifically at where he would be talking about.
He believes that there is a direct connection between that pond and past the Mews. I mean, way in. We
did a watershed study of Myacomet Pond in 2014, and it outlines, there's a lot of research done on this. There's a map of what the Myacomet watershed is established to be. And there are people not in it who think they're in it and say that their basements flood because of Myacomet Pond, and that is actually not proven to be true.
Okay.
Jeff's going to show these maps next week. But the other thing that people should take into consideration, though, is the amount of impervious surfaces that have been installed in the general Mid-Island and Myacomet watershed and probably Hummock Pond watershed areas is very significant in the last 20 or 30 years. If you think about the skate rink, the elementary school parking lot and the school parking lot, and all the paving that's been done in this area, boys club, stop and shop, there's a lot of it. Some of it's more recent than others, but if you were to compile an inventory of all this, you'd find that the water has to go somewhere if it doesn't sink into the ground anymore like it used to. Development has the impact of having a lot of vegetation removed that used to take up some of this groundwater. So there are other issues at play here besides just a pond having a lot of water in it. The water goes where it goes, and it goes to the lowest point. So if you're in a low area, you are going to get water, and opening the pond may or may not help you. That's not to say the ponds shouldn't be opened, but there are environmental considerations that need to be
and there's other reasons
taken into account, and that's what the pond management principles hopefully will get at. So I think we will have some more public discussion about this. Andy also felt a little bit like people sometimes hesitate to come to public meetings if they're televised, and they feel a bit intimidated by going before a board. So we said, okay, good point. Maybe we have these public forums that we don't televise them. It's more interactive, not, you're not in front of a board, you're in front of staff people, and we're all sitting together and having a discussion. That's what we hope to get at. So that's going to be coming up. We'll keep you posted about that.
All right.
And there was some other stuff, but I'm too tired now to say what
Yeah,
it is. And so school vacation week next week.
Yep.
The island will clear out today.
Yeah,
little,
right,
maybe?
it will, sure will.
Yeah, I hope people have good weather for vacation week.
I do too, but
I hope we
it's
have
not
good
gonna-
weather if we're staying
It's not going
here.
to be.
Next week's not going to be?
No, it's going to be like this, cold and windy and just, I was gonna go to Maine. It's just too cold.
Yeah,
I don't wanna go.
Don't.
I'm
You
gonna
probably have
wait.
snow up there.
A little bit. Sleet.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Well, this is spring on Nantucket sometimes. It's not
You
really
got it.
spring. You know, they say you go from winter to summer here.
That's a very good point, and it's true.
It's true. Thank you very much. See you next time.